The Music Thing Modular Workshop System has got a computer inside it, and that computer runs off of cards. I've chucked a load of cards in the air here. They're going to fall down and land on a sofa. I'm going to scrabble around, pick them up and put them inside a bag. Then going to put my hand inside that bag, choose 3 and make this patch memory video about those cards. So this will be a slightly different one, as I'll be exploring and finding new patches, which means it will be a longer video than usual. Alright, so let's choose some cards. First off we have Backyard Rain. Second card, Goldfish. And the final card, Vink. Alright, we will have a look at the rest of these cards another time, I think. There's plenty more to go, but for now we have 3 cards for this video. I'll explain them as we go along. Let's start with Backyard Rain. So this is Backyard Rain by Brian Dorsey, which is essentially just a recording of the rain from his backyard. Nice gentle rain. An April shower, light, nothing to worry about. Peaceful, in fact. And then as you turn the main knob, you see he's quite cleverly mixing in other recordings. The rain is getting a little more intense now. You wouldn't want to be caught in that. Not with a load of crepe paper. Imagine, it'd be a soggy mess. Getting even heavier now. Here you would be worrying about wearing canvas shoes. And before you know it, you live in Bristol. Or Porto, which is where I live now. So, yeah, it's really smart, isn't it? You know, this is it. Obviously it kind of sounds like noise at the top end. It's very clearly rain at the bottom end. Sounds great, and it's really useful, and it's also just, yeah, it's just a lovely idea. What I was thinking is that if I take that output from here and also go through this little amplifier section, then I've got some control over the volume of it, and I will bring that into this ring modulator. Now the ring modulator by default is normal to these 2 oscillators. So down at the lower end, these oscillators are LFOs. As they go up, they get into the audio range, and this ring modulator, with nothing plugged in, ring modulates those 2 signals, which ring modulation, if you didn't know, is essentially is it multiplying one by the other? So it's like if you had an envelope on a VCA, you know, and that kind of, it modulates the amplitude of the VCA. That only goes in a positive direction, whereas with ring modulation it can take a negative signal as well, so you can also go bipolar and modulate the amplitude of another signal. So that's what that does. But here we're going to be modulating, because of the way that I've plugged this in, we're going to be modulating the amplitude of the top oscillator by the rain, or the other way around if you prefer. What does it sound like? Kind of as you might expect, right? I'll turn down the top one for now. So if I go turn this up, now we're hitting the audio rate. Starts sounding like a Dalek. Kind of ends up sounding almost like a filter at the top end, isn't it? And increase the intensity of the rain. And because these 2 oscillators are also normal in terms of FM, I can turn up the FM here, and then this oscillator is now getting frequency modulated by this one. And I can do that, and then we get cross modulation going on. And as you might expect, we can also modulate the intensity of the rain. So just very quickly, let's do that. the second CV output here, this one, there we go. Bring that into here. I'm going to turn that down for a second. Let's have the normal rain. This is just a very slow LFO, which will slowly change the intensity of the rain for us, which is a really nice effect. And then this other CV output relates to the intensity of this. I want it to control a filter, so let's do that, but I also want it to control the pitch of this oscillator. Just listening to the clean signal again now. Maybe a bit more resonance. And I'm going to filter that ring modulated signal as well. Just panning them a little bit left and right. Make things sound a bit more interesting maybe. Let's take another copy of that LFO and have that modulate the frequency of this filter. Cool, so that's all that. One other thing I just quickly wanted to show you, I'm just going to unpatch everything very quickly. Take the output, send it through this amplifier. I'm going to have that triggering this slope generator, or going through, being the input for the slope generator, so I suppose it will try and slew that. Maybe it will kind of act slightly as an envelope follower, but we should get some output from it anyway. And we could just have that doing something to this. Don't know if that's wholly successful. Something though, isn't it? And the other thing I was thinking of doing, which is maybe a little bit more of a classic technique, is if we take that, put it into here. So remembering that a ring modulator is kind of like a VCA, just bipolar. What I could do is go from the slope generator into the ring modulator, take the output of that, and we should have some kind of little bursts of noise as a result of that, is my thinking. Oh yeah, there you go. And then you can control the colour of the noise with this, or if you wanted to, cables everywhere, with this LFO. Triggering this envelope isn't working quite as I wanted to, but still kind of interesting, isn't it? The faster it goes, it kind of filters it, you see. The faster the slope generator is, the more of the sound is allowed through. The slower it is, it kind of acts almost like a low-pass filter. And we just get these little pops and stuff coming through, which can then ring out. Alright, so that is backyard rain. Let's unpatch. Unpatch. Nice little soundscape card. But what's cool about the workshop system is we can just remove that card. Then we get the next one, which is Goldfish, which was created by Dune Desilmier. And I'm sorry if I spelled his name wrong, maybe Desilmo. Now this is a weird looper delay thing. There are actually two different versions of this card. I have chosen the high fidelity version, which has less sampling time on it, less delay time on it. But there's also a lo-fi version which gives you a little bit longer. Now the computer has changed into something completely different, which I haven't given you a proper explanation of what the computer does, but it changes whatever card you put on it. So we did have rain coming out of it, and now it's turned into a delay. Actually, since we've got this going already, let's go back into the ring modulator, and let's just take a sine output from here. Actually, I don't need to patch that, do I? Let's save some cables, because that's going in there. So just to give you an example of what that sounds like with nothing else going on. Fine, that kind of makes sense. Put it into the input here, take an output, what do we get? So it's a delay, but what's interesting about it is it doesn't actually have a feedback circuit in this delay, so you have to patch the feedback yourself, and you can do that in this way. This output, let's put that into the stomp box here, which is basically a way of sending workshop system signals to any kind of pedals and stuff like that you might have. I'm just going to turn that down a bit because it's annoying at the moment, isn't it? And then we patch the output of that back into the input, and what we also do is just link the return and the send together. Oh, you can kind of tell it's a delay now, right? What if we put a bit of FM on this, because then you'll hear the pitch changing. Oh, and now we're in the land of, what are those pink things that lived on the moon? You know the things I mean. Pretty cool, right? But what we can also do is put something in the feedback path here. So let's send this via a filter, why not? And actually, let's put the input as a square wave instead, and filter this via a low pass filter. I'm just going to patch that into the exponential slope instead, just to make slightly shorter bursts. Right, that's just to show you that you can do that. Let's take that out again now. And now let's use this LFO, as well as controlling the pitch of that, to control the delay time. We go in here. Oh, interesting. Right, let's repatch it to something a little bit different now. I just had a thought, which was, instead of using the ring modulator as a VCA, which it kind of sounds fine, but that's not really what I'm after, what we'll do is we will use this filter in a similar way, kind of like a low pass gate kind of thing. Now we'll take that into the delay, take the input of the delay back to here, put the feedback through, and then what do we get when we patch in the delay here? Just unplug that for a moment. And what I was thinking was to just have this go through the ring modulator, just for fun. So now I've got a ring modulator in the feedback path. If we take that from here instead, then we're just cutting in the amplitude of the feedback in and out based on this LFO. And something we haven't done yet, which is very cool, we've got a second output on this delay. So let's put that in. Oh, hold on. Pan these left and right. Let's modulate delay time again. Just going to modulate the speed of this LFO. Super cool, isn't it? Now let's modulate the speed of this with the LFO itself. And now let's also CV the speed of that. The slope that's triggering that's opening the filter. I forgot to FM the LFO when I plugged in the slope. Now I've done that now. So now the bonkers stuff comes. Amazing. Right, what other sections are there to Goldfish? Let's turn them down for a sec. So there's another section down here, which is CV section. And this is essentially a CV mixer. So you can mix and attenuate CV inputs. There's two different outputs. So there's two CV inputs, there's two different outputs. One of them is just the mix, the first one, and the second one is a sample and hold, which is quantized. If you adjust the card's parameters online, I think you can set the different scales that would quantize to. So actually, let's maybe just have, rather than having this this pitch thing being the first oscillator rather being FM'd all over the place, let's have it quantized with a pitch sequence from the second row. Let's hear. I mean, unfortunately, I'm still doing everything in a kind of crazy way, so let's just unplug some things. Oh yeah, you hear? But I tell you what, let's now have some CV sources going into this. And I believe these are like attenuators on those. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So they're based off these slopes that we're, off these LFOs and slopes that we're working with. Let's take that, the output of that CV row, and have that modulating the delay amount. And the bottom row, as you might guess, are all pulses that relate to this stuff that's going on here. So the first one is the clock input for that sample and hold that we're dealing with. Let's just see if we can do anything with this, just messing around. Hello. Wow, what's going on here? So unstable. Well, this is the kind of stuff I was looking for. And then you lose it again, just like that. Oh, hello, Waterco. All right. we've only just started on this card. It's crazy. There is another mode to this whole thing, which is a looper. You might have remembered that I said that. So we're on to Vink. Now Vink is another interesting card actually, and in some ways what I was doing at certain points with the delay part of the Goldfish card kind of relates to a little bit what Vink is, because Vink is based upon it's like a physical algorithm that was developed by Vink and the great man who I call Roland Kane, but I found out recently that actually if you're German you should say Roland Kane. So Roland Kane, who was, if you don't know, a titan of early ambient music, who I thought, I mean when I say ambient it's more kind of textural sound design stuff. Now I thought for a really long time that Roland Kane made these kind of long, I thought they were made by computers, because the sounds that were created from what he did, which I've now found out based on this stuff that Vink developed, this kind of delay feedback circuit with saturation, that creates these incredible, almost computer, spectral, crazy, beautiful, terrifying soundscapes. And this card is essentially a way to approximate this kind of feedback patching. Originally they used tape machines, very short delays, brought back in a feedback, brought feedback back into the delay circuit, but along the way added a ring modulator and added some filtering, which then somehow, almost as if there was a ghost in the machine or something, started these kind of sequences that changed in a kind of controllable but slightly unpredictable way, with all of these different spectral overtones. Absolutely incredible. I thoroughly recommend you go and listen to some Roland Kane if you can get your hands on it. I've got a CD somewhere around, which I did think I was going to wave around as a prop, but then I forgot. So the way that it works is we have a delay rate here, we've got delay offset here, we've got saturation, which is an important part of the circuit, and then we've got audio in over here, audio out over here. This is the delay rate CV, this is delay offset CV, these are some LFOs, and then you've got some tap tempo rates here too. Now the way it really works is, again, you kind of want to patch in a ring modulator into the feedback loop. So this initially, the way that Vink and Roland Kane did it is basically zero input mixing, zero input delay rather. So the noise of the circuit came from the circuit itself, and then that started resonating, changing. So let's see if I can remember what I'm doing here. I'm going to start with this first off. Can you hear something going on? Oh, part of the circuit which I forgot to mention, which is extremely important, is that the feedback, when fed back into the delay to stop the feedback going into crazy levels of resonance and stuff, they patched in an inverted, kind of like an envelope follower, I suppose, that then was inverted like a compressor. So where the louder the signal that was being fed back into the circuit became, it then kind of suppressed that signal so that the resonance was always under control. So can you hear we've got something going on here? No input. Feedback. The output from this kind of delay with the pulsing resonance stuff. No, you know what I mean. The inverted resonance, the inverted input control thing that I just described, is going into this ring modulator, which I'm just changing what it's being, oh my goodness. I'm changing the frequency of the oscillator that is ring modulating this output, which is in the feedback circuit. I love this stuff. Let's change the delay rate. I'm just going to turn the volume up on this because it's quite quiet, isn't it? We have two outputs here. I don't actually know if they are linked or not, so let's just try panning them. Are they the same? I don't know. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of the inputs via a filter and see what happens. Band pass, I think. I'm going to patch the first input through a filter at a different frequency. So let's have one filter up here and one filter down here. I'm going to have two bandpass filters. Let's try it. Astonishing. Let's utilise these built-in LFOs. Let's have this second one control the frequency of this first filter. Double mult the second one to patch this way, the second filter. Let's use this. Oh no. What's going on there? Oh, it's because of the FM here. Yeah. Actually, let's use one of these LFOs instead. Now I know in the original Vink and Kind patches, they had a filter bank that was in the feedback path. I've only got two filters here, so maybe not quite as interesting as what you could do with their full setup. Oh man, listen to how it changes. amazing stuff. So I don't think I said, my apologies, this card was developed by Ben Regnier, I think his name is, or Regnier, I think Regnier. The implementation that he's managed of the Vink and Roland Kine's original stuff, original patch, but built within software, is really great, I think. I'm just going to turn this down now. He's done a really, really good job. I have never looked into this kind of patching myself because, like I said, I thought that this was originally created within software, like rudimentary kind of building blocks software, early computers in the 70s, but it was analog. It was a physical analog using tape, using mixing desks, using filter banks, and creating insane otherworldly dreamscapes that, if you listen to the extremely long pieces, the Roland Kine work is fantastic. And I'm looking forward to delving more into this card and finding out more about it. To be honest, all of the cards that we've looked at, just to remind you, that was Goldfish, Vink, and Backyard Rain. All of them are great. If you go to musicthing.co.uk, and then there's a whole page, computer_program_cards. There you'll be able to see loads of the different cards that are available for Workshop System. This is 3 we've looked at. I've got over 10 over there. It just really opens up this machine into so many possibilities. And what's more, you can code the computer cards with pretty much any bit of software you like, whether that's C++, I think you can do Python, you can do all sorts of things. And code your own modulators, delay circuits, reverbs, oscillators, whatever you want. Plonk it in, and because all of the firmware and everything for the computer module, if you can call it a module, it's part of this system, is on the card, you just plug it in, press a button, and off you go. Absolutely brilliant. The Workshop System is like a never-ending treasure trove of delights. The more you play with it, the better designed you realise that it is. Tom Whitwell did a fantastic job with this thing, and the community around it, there's a Discord associated with the cards as well. The community is doing a wonderful job of bringing so many different ideas to life. Thanks for watching this video. I'm going to try and cut some of this stuff up and put it into a sound sample pack. It's a little bit of a different one today. I don't know what I'll find there, but I'll try my best. As always, you can follow me on Instagram, like, subscribe, all of that stuff, because it helps me out, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers, bye.